originally lived in Warwick and joined the cathedral in 1961, so just a little bit before the consecration. And I joined, I was 10 years old, and so it was a really wonderful opportunity, really hard work, but I mean fantastic experience. And we did a couple of tours and ended up in Germany for the 1200th anniversary of Ottobourne Abbey, which was a big Rococo building and a massive event. And part of that was a performance, in fact the German premiere of Britten's War Requiem, conducted by Benjamin Britten.
We all formed part of the original cathedral choir. The first group of boys were selected in 1959. David and I were in the second group that started in 1960, and Guy joined the following year in 61.
We started practicing and getting together and forming the choir for about 2 years in the undercroft below this building, as this building rose from nothing. So we had a pretty strong bond, and we worked very, very hard as individuals with choir practices in the mornings, every morning bar Friday, and three services at the weekends.
The consecration was a huge event. I mean, it's monumental. As I said earlier today, you're lucky if you get more than a couple of consecrations in a millennium. So to be part of a consecration was a magnificent opportunity. It was a very, very grand occasion. Coventry was the focus of the whole of the country for a week or so, and the 2 days of the consecration, both BBC and ITV were permanently focused on the cathedral. We had Richard Dimbleby here, and most of us spent our time when we were not singing going around collecting the autographs of the great and the good. The royal family were here. We rehearsed the reception of the Queen, and we were very close to the Queen on a number of occasions. It was something that was just beyond any schoolboy's expectation. It was a very major occasion. But I don't think we were blown away with it. I think we sort of took it in our stride.
Because I mean, we'd been rehearsing and practicing for it, and it was obviously the culmination of what was going on. I was remembering that when probably all of us when we first sang in the Undercroft, this floor was like a building site, concrete mixers and noise. And so when it finally went quiet and this wonderful building began to be a church, with the right atmosphere and the reverence, and of course all the wonderful works of art, I suppose it began to be part of the whole momentum towards that consecration of the opening of the cathedral. And it was such an iconic building, modern art with all the names that you can think of, represented in the cathedral. We were so proud of it,
We were.
When the tapestry arrived, that massive Graham Sutherland tapestry, I mean, even at 10 years old, you recognised that this was really modern art, the names that were associated with it. It would be, Damien Hirst and people like Anthony Gormley now.
And the thing for me wasn't the tapestry, although it's magnificent, it's the coloured windows when they went in. And I remember walking up from the front of the church through the nave and turning back and looking at all those wonderful windows. Even today, it blows me away. And then you look up at the link into the old cathedral, and you can think, now I get it. Now I understand what we're doing and why.
On the day, I was surprised what a huge thing it was. I mean, the crowds outside the cathedral, who had obviously come to see the Queen arrive, and the fact that it was on live television, was you really thought, wow, this is pretty special.
For me, the moment that encapsulated what Coventry Cathedral was all about was when a man burst through our ranks in our practice for the reception of the Queen, threw himself at the knees of the provost and begged forgiveness. and we were wondering what on earth was going on, and we were even worried that this was a breach of protocol. And
or even an attack.
Or even
was he
an
being
attack.
mugged,
And what it turned out was that this was one of the German bombers who had bombed Coventry Cathedral and wanted to be part of the reconciliation process and begged forgiveness for his part in ruining the old cathedral, but of course making it possible for the new cathedral to be built. And for me, that has stuck in my mind as the most moving moment.